You know, back in the days when I worked at ESPN, Kenny Mayne and Keith Olbermann did a commercial, and at one point, they looked at each other and go, "I don't even know who you are anymore." Well, when I look at the Baltimore Ravens right now, I don't know who they are anymore. A frugal team who's never traded picks before, as in never, like 31 years. If my head is on a swivel, Cliff Brown, of course, of Ravens.com with us right now to give us the inside scoop on what's going on with the Ravens. I mean, did you get whiplash yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, when news of the trade came down that the Ravens had given up two number ones for Max Crosby, yeah, I agree with you. That's something that's un-Raven-like, judging from their past history. But I think it's a great deal for them. Max Crosby, premier player, super pass rusher, also good against the run too. He's a superstar player in the NFL. And the Ravens really needed to improve their pass rush. This is a guy who plays like a Raven, hair on fire. I think he's going to uplift the entire defense and change that dynamic. And yeah, when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, sometimes you have to take risks. I think Lamar Jackson going into his ninth season, the Ravens have been trying to knock that door down. I think they view Max Crosby as a guy who can help them do that.
And to that point, though, this wasn't just about Max Crosby. I mean, there was you lose, well, Linderbaum, the center, cornerstone to the offense, guy who is projected as like Crosby, one of the top three at his position in the game. What went into that, in your opinion?
Well, as far as Linderbaum, I mean, he reset the salaries for centers with the deal that he got from the Raiders. They just made an offer that he couldn't refuse. I think the Ravens are definitely sad to lose Linderbaum, and now they've got to address another spot on their offensive line. But I do believe that even with that loss, the addition of Max Crosby, and they still have 10 draft picks in this draft. They don't have their first rounder, but they do have a lot of ammo in the draft. The Ravens usually draft well. They're going to find some help through the draft. I think they're not done as far as free agency is concerned. And anytime you can field a defense that has Max Crosby, Kyle Hamilton, and Roquan Smith, and an offense that has Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers, I think that you can view yourself as a contender.
Cliff Brown joins us right now from Ravens.com as we go inside arguably the busiest team and in the tampering period, certainly until this point. So you mentioned it, and I just want to get clarity because I said yesterday on this show that Ravens were going all in. This is pushing all your chips into a window of what, 2 years maybe? I mean, if it's Super Bowl or bust and they don't make it, how will this be remembered?
Well, that's the key. I mean, we can't predict the future. I will say that if the Ravens do win a Super Bowl or two Super Bowls in the next couple of years, nobody's going to care if the Ravens gave up four first rounders for Max Crosby. It will be deemed as a trade that helped them do that and was worth it. If they don't win a Super Bowl or reach it, then the Ravens are going to have to hope that even without the two first rounders, that they can still remain a contender with Lamar as quarterback. He's only 28 years old. This is Jesse Minter's first year as the head coach. So we're starting a whole new regime here in Baltimore. I think there's a lot of energy in the building. New coach, Max Crosby. John Harbaugh has been here for 18 years, had a lot of success, but we have definitely flipped the page now to a new era. So I'm not convinced that the Ravens window is only a year or two with this deal, but I do believe that yes, it does show that they feel a sense of urgency to try and get it done.
And even when you look at the picks, right? Didn't they get some kind of compensatory picks? They got you mentioned a whole bunch of picks left in this draft from other transactions and the like. So would it be safe to say that the cupboard is not bare as far as the draft picks are concerned down the line?
Correct. They've been masters at obtaining compensatory picks over the years. They got four this year, and again, that got them up to 10 draft picks. They had 11 before they made the Crosby deal, but they've got a second rounder, a third rounder. They've got a couple of picks in rounds 5 and 7, and the Ravens are known for their ability to draft to find players that don't necessarily have to be high draft picks that can help them win games. So that's going to be the game plan, that even though they don't have the first round pick, they do have 10 picks, and they need to find players this year who are going to contribute as rookies because they do have some holes to fill, regardless of what else they do in free agency.
Well, this is what makes Eric DeCosta the great front office executive that he is, right? He's been able to find, low hanging fruit and amongst the weeds, and they become superstars. So if I read into the tea leaves, it's almost like the organization is saying our front office is so good, we can replace what we're losing and keep it moving.
That's the idea. And, as far as special players, though, like Max Crosby's and Kyle Hamilton, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, those are the players that don't grow on trees.
Right.
And when, you have a chance to get someone like a Max Crosby, everybody in the league knew he was available. A lot of teams were interested. The Ravens, yes, they've pushed their chips into the middle of the table, feeling that he was the right player at the right position and with the right attitude. I love the energy that Crosby brings, a guy who plays every snap like it's the last snap. He's also good against the run. He makes his teammates better by drawing so much attention. I think he'll automatically step into the Ravens and become one of the team leaders, much like Derrick Henry, much like Roquan Smith.
When I think leader in the Ravens, I think Ray Lewis. Okay. And I'm talking about, is he that kind of galvanizing personality that just, is somebody that'll bring fire to the locker room, if you will?
Well, I'm always hesitant to compare anyone to Ray,
I know.
but I do think Max is a guy who is very much respected by his peers. I mean, the effort that he plays with shows up on tape. Let's face it, he's been with a lot of losing teams with the Raiders, but you see this guy in the fourth quarter, no matter what the score is, playing all out on every play. That's someone you have to respect. And also know that he's got to be thrilled, even though he was a Raider through and through when he played there, to be joining a team that has a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl. Max Crosby's only played in one playoff game his whole career. The Ravens are used to making the playoffs, every year. Last year was an exception. So I think it's going to juice up Max Crosby to come here with really nothing to prove to himself, but certainly something to prove to new teammates and the fan base. And I think the players are definitely going to embrace him as somebody who can help them get to where they want to go.
Cliff Brown with us from Ravens.com as we talk Baltimore Ravens, one of the most active teams in the tampering period, if you will. And it almost feels crazy talking about it in terms of tampering when we all know it's legal, and something about legal and tampering just don't, work. But I want to address the tight end situation with Likely. I thought that was a cornerstone piece. What led to, I guess, it just not lasting longer?
Well, at that position, they also have Mark Andrews. They did try and re-sign Likely at various points before he left. Obviously, it didn't get done. They were able to reach a deal with Mark Andrews, but both Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kohler, who also a tremendous blocking tight end, have departed. So yes, now with Andrews being the only tight end who's really under contract, with Likely going to New York and Kohler going out to the Chargers, the Ravens are in the tight end market. Now, they've had several drafts over the years where they've drafted two tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised that with 10 draft picks that they do draft two tight ends this year. They're definitely going to add at least two to the roster at this point. So, yeah, again, Linderbaum and Likely in a perfect world would have been two players that the Ravens would have kept. But with the salary cap, it's just very, very hard to keep all the players you want. So that certainly now has become a position of need for the Ravens tight end. But at least they have one proven piece in Mark Andrews. They just have to fill out the spots around him in that room.
So what we're saying is then, despite the salary cap escalating to above or $300 million, the amount of individual salaries is increasing. So it really, when you look at dollar for dollar, is the dollar as worth as much as it once was under the cap these days?
I just think it puts a lot even more importance on how you maneuver around the cap. I mean, the Ravens situation, Lamar Jackson they're hoping to adjust his contract to give them a little more salary cap relief. And that's really what all teams go through who have a franchise quarterback. When you have a player like Lamar, like a Mahomes, and all the other top quarterbacks, you know you're going to pay them, and then how you manage the salary cap, how you manage the draft becomes even more important because obviously you want to put as much talent around that franchise quarterback as you can. So that's what the Ravens are going through. It's a better problem to have the franchise quarterback and then have to maneuver around the cap than not to have the franchise quarterback. That's the world you don't want to live in.
So with that being said, everything that has happened this far, I mean, just how much fire does that light under the backside of Lamar Jackson these days? I mean, is he the guy that shoulders the greatest burden to getting this team back into Super Bowl contention?
Yeah, Lamar is always that guy, but I think he's up for the challenge for sure. I think he's excited to be working with a new head coach, new offensive coordinator. It's a new feeling. It'll be a new offense, that he'll be, in his command. And I think that, yeah, he's looking forward to the Ravens hopefully adding some pieces, strengthening the offensive line. But Lamar Jackson doesn't need any more motivation. Ever since the night he was drafted, he said, I'm going to bring a Super Bowl to Baltimore. He meant that. He certainly has the ability to do that. He's won a couple of MVPs. I think he should have won three. But really, what he wants most is to win a Super Bowl. So the challenge is there. But the Ravens, I feel, again, even with all the changes they've made, certainly are a team that could do that next year if they stay healthy and if the pieces fall in place.
Yeah, when you look at the landscape of the AFC, Kansas City's got to retool. They'd always been the gold standard. Buffalo is continuously one of the suspects that you got to go through. And then when you drop off from there, I still kind of see the Ravens probably third best on if I was going to do a depth chart right now in the AFC. Is that putting too much pressure on them, or is that selling them short?
Well, I think we'll know that question better, obviously, after the draft, and then obviously as we get closer to week one. But look at last season. Two teams that did not make the playoffs the year before were in the Super Bowl: New England Patriots, Seattle Seahawks, and that just shows you how quickly things can change. I think parity is real, and the amount of teams that have legitimate chance of winning a Super Bowl is increasing, not decreasing from year to year. You've got teams like, Baltimore didn't make the playoffs last year,
Mm-hmm.
the Cincinnati Bengals. If Joe Burrow stays healthy, I don't think you could discount them, certainly from winning the division and being a playoff team. You mentioned Kansas City not making the playoffs. I mean, last year we had Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow not even make the playoffs. I don't
Crazy.
think that anybody thought that was going to happen last season. So next season, I would expect all those quarterbacks to have bounce back seasons. And so, yes, you could probably name at least six teams in each conference that you could say, hey, have a legitimate chance to get to the Super Bowl next year.
And what do you make of like the strength of salary based upon how you finished in the division and you getting that sort of easier schedule? I mean, it is a week to week league, but there are some teams that are going to have far more difficult schedules. When you look at the schedule of Baltimore going into the 2026 season, I guess on a scale of five balls in terms of how difficult, how many balls of difficulty is it going to be for the Ravens to, get back to the postseason and make that run?
I think one of the interesting things about the Ravens schedule next season is that the AFC North landscape has changed completely.
Mm-hmm.
No Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. The Ravens have a new head coach. Cleveland Browns have a new head coach, Todd Monken, who was the Ravens offensive coordinator. I mean, Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, he's the only returning coach in the division. So the
Wow.
first step is to win your division. That's an automatic playoff spot and an automatic home game. But handicapping the AFC North next year going to the season, I think is going to be really difficult because we're talking about three new head coaches. All the changes have been made personnel wise. So yeah, the AFC North that Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, that AFC North is gone. This is the new AFC North.
Mm.
So I think you really have to kind of wait and see how it shakes out. But for all those teams, the goal hasn't changed. Win your division, get that home game, at least one at home, starting the playoffs. And then, yeah, from there, try and make a run and play your best football when it counts the most.
Great stuff as always from my man, Hall of Famer Clifton Brown, covers the Ravens for Ravens.com. That's an interesting perspective because you put all three teams or four teams in the division in a bag, pour them out like you're playing one of those down. You turn one over, and with the exception of Cleveland, I got to be honest with you, you
Right.
got to figure that any one of them can get to the playoffs and be dangerous. And it's going to be fun watching the AFC North. It really is. I can't wait to watch next year. Hey, that's my guy, Cliff Brown from Ravens.com. Hey, Cliff, go ahead, get yourself a massage on me because I know your head is still swimming after all the work. And I'll see you on down the road.
Appreciate you, Mark, as always. We'll talk down the road.
All right. Hey, we got more of what you came here for on the other side. It's OG Sports Rap on Sports Rap Network. Remember, download the mobile app. And if you miss me, find me on Substack at Sports Rap OG. Take care, Cliff.
You too, Mark. Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
All
Talk
right,
soon.
man. All
All
right.
right.